The first sign something was wrong came as a text that wasn't meant for me. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. I wasn't snooping. I swear that to this day. The screen lit up with a name I knew too well. Mark Harlan, her boss. Last night shouldn't have ended that way. I can't stop thinking about you. My chest went hollow. Not a sharp pain, worse. Like the floor had quietly disappeared beneath me. I locked the phone and stepped back, my heart pounding so loud I was afraid she'd hear it through the running water. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Mark was charismatic, confident, the kind of man people described as an alpha without irony. He ran the firm like a kingdom. Maybe he was crossing a professional line. Maybe my wife shut him down. Maybe. That night, I watched her closely. Too closely. Every smile felt rehearsed. Every pause before she answered a question stretched too long. When I asked how work was, she said, "Fine." The same way people say it when they don't want follow-up questions. Over the next week, the signs stacked up quietly. Late meetings that never used to happen. Her phone always face down. A new password. Missed calls she brushed off with forced laughs. I started questioning myself before I questioned her. You're paranoid. You're insecure. Don't become that guy. But then came the email. She'd left her laptop open one night while brushing her teeth. I wasn't looking for anything. I just closed the screen to save battery. That's when I saw the subject line in her inbox preview. Us. I clicked. It wasn't explicit. That almost made it worse. Mark wrote about how electric it felt being close to her, how he admired her loyalty to him. He apologized for pushing boundaries but followed it with, "I know you feel it too." My hands shook. I scrolled further back. She hadn't encouraged him, but she hadn't stopped him either. Polite replies. Careful words. A door left cracked open just enough. When I confronted her, my voice didn't sound like mine. "Does your boss want to sleep with you?" She froze. Toothbrush halfway to her mouth. That pause told me everything. "He came on to me," she said quickly. I said no. "But you didn't shut it down." Tears filled her eyes. I was scared. He has so much power. I didn't want to lose my job. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But then I asked the question that changed everything. Why didn't you tell me? Silence. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake replaying our life together, every laugh, every fight, every sacrifice, and wondering which parts were real. I wasn't just angry. I felt small. Replaceable. Like I'd been standing next to a man who thought he could take whatever he wanted, including my wife. Mark didn't know who I was. Not really. To him, I was background noise. The husband who worked quietly, lived modestly, stayed invisible. That was his mistake. You see, before I met my wife, I worked in corporate compliance and risk auditing. I knew how powerful men hid their messes. And Mark Harlan? He was sloppy. Arrogance makes people careless. I didn't touch my wife's phone again. I didn't threaten. I didn't confront him like a fool. I waited. Over weeks, I documented everything: questionable expenses, falsified reports, quiet settlements buried in spreadsheets. I sent it all anonymously to the board, the regulators, and the firm's biggest clients. I watched from a distance as Mark unraveled. First, he stopped smiling in her stories. Then came emergency meetings. Then whispers. One night, my wife came home pale and shaking. "Mark was fired today," she said. "They're investigating him." I nodded. Calm. Hollow. She looked at me differently after that. Like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. We tried to fix things. Counseling. Long talks. Painful honesty. She apologized, for the silence, for the attention she didn't shut down, for letting another man step into our marriage. But some things don't snap back into place. One evening, months later, she asked quietly, "Did you do something to him?" I thought about lying. Instead, I said, "I protected myself." She cried. Not because Mark was gone, but because she finally understood what her silence had cost us. We separated a year later. No screaming. No cheating. Just two people who loved each other but couldn't outrun the damage. Sometimes revenge doesn't feel victorious. It feels necessary. Like reclaiming ground you didn't realize you'd lost. I didn't destroy Mark because he wanted my wife. I destroyed him because he thought he could.